Hi, how are you doing? Excellent. Because you're about to start your evening.
Yes, actually, it's kind of not the end of the day, but almost.
Yeah.
And we have already some participants online. So thank you for being connected. Thank you, Chi. Thank you, Paula. Just to let you know and to be completely honest with you, we decided with Mindy to connect few minutes before the webinar just to be sure that everything was fine, that we have a good quality of sound and video. So we are going to get started in 4 minutes, and maybe it's the opportunity for us as well to check if you can hear us well. Maybe Paula or Chi can let us know in the chat room if everything is fine. I thank you in advance. Okay. So, hi, can you talk, Mindy?
Yep. Hi.
Yeah.
Pleasure to be here. Would you like me to share my screen or wait until?
No, I think it will be okay.
Okay.
Maybe you can do it. Maybe just to check. It has to be the PDF, I think.
Yeah. It is the PDF file. It opens up in a browser on my computer. So that's why I want to. Says the wind. It shows up small though, but maybe I can make it larger. There we go.
No, it's good.
There. Fades. Right. Now I can't see you. I can just see my sharing. So.
Okay. I mean, it's all right. Have you tried to upload the PDF?
Oh, can I upload them? Yeah.
Yes. Normally, if you
That's great.
on share, you can put share a PDF presentation,
Interesting. Okay.
and then you will be able to see me as well.
Let's see. So I'm going to share. Yeah, it would be nice to see you.
Yes, I think it's better for the experience.
Oh, here we go. Share a PDF. I'm just new to this platform here. It's a good learning experience. Okay, this is great. Hold on just 1 second. This is why we start early.
Hi, we have other people online, so thank you very much for being here. We are going to get started in a couple of seconds now, in a couple of minutes. We just connected few minutes before with Mindy to check everything, the quality of sound, the quality of the video, the sharing as well. And we get started in about 2 minutes. And again, thanks for being here with us.
So it says it's processing.
Yes, it takes a couple of minutes. So how is the weather in Austin?
It's finally fall weather, so it's finally cooler. It's in the high 80s here. I've always been bad at translating our weather. Even when I lived in Switzerland, I never got the translation from Fahrenheit to Celsius.
Okay, it's 4 o'clock. Yes, perfect. And the sharing is all right. So we can start. So first and foremost, thank you very much for being with us today. We are very happy to have this webinar with you about employee experience, AI, and technology. It's a very important topic that we wanted to cover with an expert. Mindy was one of our advisors who is going to share her insight, her experience, and her expertise on this field. Maybe just to start, I'm going to introduce myself and introduce my company to give you more visibility on why we are doing this today. So I am Ismail Charkaoui. I am the founder of Hubadviser. It's a new company. We are in the business for 2 years, and we are a digital advisory firm. before to go ahead and to move forward, I have seen that we have many people online. Can somebody of you just on the chat box let me know if we can hear us well and see us well? It will be great. And after that, we can move ahead. Okay, sound, video, and okay. Thank you very much, Chi. Perfect. So yes, to recap, I am the founder of Hubadviser. It's an advisory firm and company. It's a new company, 2 years of existence. And before to create Hubadviser, I worked for many years at Gartner, which is well known, a strategy firm as well. And I decided to create Hubadviser because I heard from my client that they were looking for operational insight rather than generic analysis. Very often, I spoke with business leaders and technology leaders who are telling me, we would like to know what the others are doing, why are they succeeding, why are they failing as well, because we speak about sales success and failure. And it would be great to connect with companies maybe ahead of our companies in terms of technology adoption, in terms of employee experience as well, customer experience, and to understand what are the best practices, what are the pitfalls to avoid. And this is why we created a platform which gives the ability to our client to connect one-to-one with experts like Mindy in order to challenge their strategy, review their roadmap, and, execute better and faster. So this is the essence and this is the mission of Hubadviser. Today, we wanted to speak about AI, about data and analytics, and about HR. Why? Because currently we have seen that with the generative AI, HR is very involved in this discussion for the whole company, but as well for the HR department itself. So this is why we wanted to give the opportunity to Mindy, who is an HR leader, and I'm going to let you introduce yourself, Mindy, to introduce how at Expedia, but also as well in other companies, she leverage AI and technology in order to improve the HR operation. So we start with a 20-minute presentation, but obviously if you have any question, just, let us know in the chat box. We will take some breaks as well if you have questions. It should be as interactive as possible. I think we are ready to go, Mindy. So I'm going to let you drive from here.
Excellent, Ismail. Thank you so much to you and Hubadviser for creating space for this really important topic. It's one of my favorite topics. I think often when I'm speaking with HR leaders, they either are running to embrace AI and technology, or in kind of an uncertainty and just the weight of everything going on right now, haven't even had a chance yet to step their toes into it. And so my hope is in this conversations is to be able to really help motivate, inspire, and really help our leaders be able to see that AI, analytics, and technology actually helps us to remain more human-centered within our workplaces. So a little bit about me first. My name is Mindy Honcoop, and I have been an HR professional for over 20 years. And I've worked in numerous workplaces, including Microsoft and Expedia. And it was at Expedia that human-centered design was really at the core of our HR organization. We were all trained in human-centered design and how to use this within our work to really be able to go beyond employee engagement to that employee experience, and then really understand, are those people, those humans who make up our employees, who can really think about when we're designing people, process, and systems, how are we including their voice in that process? And so we'll get to dig into that here today. So
just for some things in the audience, we have HR leader and digital and data leader. So if you are a digital or data leader, don't worry. I mean, it's as well an opportunity for you to understand how you can bring value to your HR function within your organization. I just wanted to say that, and I'll let you go ahead. Sorry for that.
Thank you so much, Ismail. And it's such an important piece because the data analytics can sometimes sit outside of HR or maybe is just in HR. So we'll be talking about that too, because data is at the heart of all of this and it's really important. So first of all, where we often start when I'm speaking with leaders, what is top of mind for them right now is productivity, and really like, how can we do more with less? But also in that conversation, that doesn't mean that we have to move away from being human-centered. How can we hold both productivity and being human-centered in both hands equally? And so just to be able to take a step back and be able to walk through with leaders in order to really be able to do more with less, to actually move the needle on productivity, we really need to understand at that kind of granular level, where are the levers within our organization that we are able to actually move in order to create continuous improvement, to be able to refine and iterate, to be able to always be working on productivity. So it's always something that we're working towards. It's not static or linear, like in old change management processes. How do we go from being static to continuous improvement to continue to drive productivity in a more agile fashion so that we're able to respond to the ever-changing needs of our consumers or those who we are serving as organizations? So what I like to do is to take a step back and look at the workplace ecosystem. If we really think about what is driving productivity within our organizations, it's that the question is, how are we organizationally effective? And when we really think about what are those things that make us organizationally effective, I bet you're starting to think about some things as it's coming to mind. Those are probably really around capabilities. What are organizational capabilities? What are those things that make us more capable to drive effectiveness and productivity within our companies? And as you're kind of thinking about, what does that look like in my organization? What are those capabilities? But kind of some of the things that are coming to mind, if you start to theme them, are actually people that make up our organizations, the processes and the systems. And those systems, I like to use the word systems versus technology, because in some industries, we still have a lot of low tech or non-tech systems that we're using. And so really making sure that when we're thinking about systems, we're both thinking about the technology systems and the non-technology systems that exist still within our workplaces. And at the intersection of those three things is where the heart of employee experience lives. Often when we see this, we may hear in other presentation or other speakers, they may use the word engagement, employee engagement. I just like to take it down a level even deeper around what's fueling that engagement so that we can get to those levers, those behaviors, like what are those inner workings of how we're working that we can actually start to drive informed change to be able to, at the end, to drive productivity. So I like to think about it from employee experience at that more granular level that sits underneath engagement. And when we think about that employee experience, it's really then how are the humans within our organizations interacting with each other? How do they feel about those interactions, but also how they're interacting with the processes and then also with the systems, with those systems that we have in our workplace. And that's when we start to think about who are the humans in our organization, and at each step along the employee journey that they're in at our organization, how are they interacting and how are these three things interacting together? That's when we can really start to unveil, be able to hear their voice, create space for their voice, but more importantly, also overlay it with data. And if we have the data, are we then taking the time to then dig in deeper to understand what is the context of the data and what are the stories of the employees that helps us to clearly understand what that data is telling us? And so, why is this important? And let's define this employee experience a little bit deeper. Gartner actually came out in 2023 with some really interesting data around this human employee experience. And what does that mean from a definition of the employees in our workplace? And I really love how this deal framework that they created that came out of the data gets to the heart of those feelings of those interactions. and that 82% of employees say it's important for them and their organizations for them to be seen as a human, as a person. Yet only 45% of those employees believe their company currently sees them this way. When I saw this data point recently, that really took me a moment to really take that in. And also helped me realize how important it is to be able to think about how we use human-centered design when we think about the employee experience. Also, why is this important? The data shows in a recent Gallup survey that 3 times as many people left their job due to engagement and culture or well-being and work-life balance reasons versus reasons like pay and benefits. And they looked at kind of all the reasons of leaving, including managers. We often hear, oh, everyone just leaves because their manager is bad. But when you dig in deeper below the reason why, kind of those higher level reasons, it often was not just the manager, but because it was this engagement and culture and well-being things that were laying underneath the kind of more umbrella reasons that we usually see in our data. Also, going back, if you Google search, going back to 2017, I would say, 2017, 2016 is when some really great research started to develop around the connection of the employee experience with the candidate experience and productivity. And since then, that data and research has just been re-emphasized. I really love this one from MIT. And while it is dated going back to 2017, I still think it holds true today. And in the research that's happened since then, it just holds this to be true. I just think that the volume of their research was just very significantly important. And it just goes to show that when we do get the employee experience right, we are able to drive greater innovation, customer satisfaction, and greater stability within our companies. I think the reason why behind that is because when we get to the level of making decisions driven at that employee experience level, we're really able to get to some actual data points that can drive refinement and iteration, which then the employees feel like they have a voice in when they can see themselves in the solutions that we are then implementing. Then we have greater adoption because they feel heard and seen and they're a part of something. It gives them purpose, and we find that there's greater alignment between that customer experience and the employee experience, and that the employees are coming to work every day better understanding what's expected of me and how am I able to impact that greater strategy at the company. So how do we really make a difference with employee experience when we also need to be thinking about our budgets? When we also, we do need to think about how there's so much that goes into employee experience. And I think often people will say, we just don't have the time or the resources or the money to really make a difference with employee experience. Well, that's what's so exciting about technology, is technology, especially with AI, has really helped us be able to leverage and equip and augment our HR teams and our other teams within our organization to actually start to really move the needle to be more human-centered, be able to think about how can we really create an opportunity for employees through technology to be able to do that more strategic work, but not to just be doing kind of the manual, the kind of the day-to-day, the things that can be automated and streamlined. And with AI, we've seen the ability to be able to access some of this technology at a lower price point. It's not just those enterprise companies now that have access to the technology, but then even kind of our smaller companies are able to create the same type of workplace environments that enterprise companies have, and also in industries outside of technology. But first, before we go purchase technology, I often see our HR teams get really excited about technology and they just jump in. They're like, yes, let's solve for this process or this plan. And we need to take a step back and really understand what is the outcome that we're seeking for. What are the actual problems that we're looking to solve? And one way in which to make sure that we're first taking a look at our holistic workplace ecosystem, once again, really balancing the needs of the employee, the processes and the systems, and be able to think about, what is that current state experience for them? What is the interactions that are happening between the process, the systems, and the employee? Let's be able to get some data points of how are they feeling in those interactions? Like, how much time are they actually spending with manual work versus in automated systems and tools? How many tools are they actually having to log into? Often that's 66 or more platforms, which can create its own confusion and slow work down. And then really understanding who are we solving for? Who are those key stakeholders? So we can really engage them on in the process as we're looking to, solve these problems. And then making sure that we're not just jumping into solving something and having a plan without a clear strategy in mind, and making sure that strategy is tied to our business objectives. I always want to make sure that everything ties back to that business strategy. So when we do create a technology or digital workplace roadmap, that goes back to our strategic initiatives as an organization. Thus, the plans that come out of those strategies always go back to the business goals. And so once we have that digital strategy that's aligned to the business needs, then how are we developing a co-shared plan? I often see this is where we fall down. I often see us talk around human-related technologies as going underneath HR and the HR tech stack, and then we're on the island of HR. And that the people then, we're solving for the people separated from the rest of the organization's systems and processes. And now we have the sharing of these strategies that are separate. In order for us to be agile, we need to really think about co-sharing the strategies. And how do we start to integrate that HR tech stack and those people initiatives as part of the greater organizational strategy? And this is often where I come in to really help start thinking about how we're making sure we're weaving that together. And then most importantly, this is for data. How are we looping in our data analysts to really understand what are those current baseline measures? What is the data in our organization telling us today of how effective are we or are we not? And if we don't have data, how can we start to think about what are our baselines? How do we get that data? Who in our organization understands data that we can bring into this to make sure we do have clear measures? Because without that data, how do we know if the technology is actually driving us in the direction of change that we're intending to make? So that is really key. We have to have data. And so those key performance like indicators, those benchmarks, there's so many that we can lean on. These are just a few examples. And really depending on the solutions, like what is it that you're trying to solve in your organization? What are those KPIs that you're looking at? Are those KPIs actually tied to your business goals? Always think about, we want to make sure again that everything's pointing back to productivity, moving the business forward. And so what are those right KPIs? And how are we making sure that our teams are successful? Often here, when I think about and I speak with HR leaders, they may have some recruiting measures. Often they're looking at attrition and engagement scores, but how do they understand their own productivity rates? How are they really thinking around what is their kind of output quality? Are they getting feedback like in an onboarding survey, for example? Often an organization I worked with, they weren't even checking in with the employees around that onboarding experience. And so being able to do a really lightweight just check-in to be able to get data on how simply is our onboarding experience supporting you and ramping up in your organization. And also project timelines. So in HR, often they weren't measuring this, but often when you kind of spoke with them, the strategic projects that are trying to move forward often were getting delayed because the business as usual, the things that they are needed to focus on to keep from day-to-day business, and also most often were reactive in nature, were taking up the full time and bandwidth that they had to always scale back or push back the deadlines of those strategic projects. that were going to move the business forward. And then even understanding what is your capacity for those strategic projects, they weren't always able to answer that question. So that is a great place to start from a baseline perspective as an HR organization with your data team, is to really think about what is our business as usual and how can we actually tighten that. Often, for me, an example, I'm going to go into a case study here in an organization that I was working with. When we looked at just onboarding, we realized that the time it was taking, it was very manual. We were hiring globally. Our U.S. team was it was a U.S. headquartered team, so most of the HR team was in the U.S., so we had a time zone gap. And some of the metrics we were looking at is as we were growing and scaling the organization and hiring globally, our strategic project timelines, we weren't hitting that. We were pushing our deadlines always back. And our output quality for our onboarding surveys was actually going down because we weren't able to address the questions of the people that we were hiring globally in a good, our response time to those questions was starting to go down. So we had some of these baseline measures, and we started to realize that as we were hiring externally, our manual processes were holding us back from actually delivering quality of value and being able to get back to our employees in a timely way. And so some of these measures for us, we really started to see that, we needed to, what was going on here? We needed to make a difference. And so we also realized as we did the key stakeholder map and we're, looking at also at our attrition data, some of the attrition data and even in the onboarding surveys was starting to point to the fact that we had 66 platforms that employees had to log into. It was also that the information that our employees needed were spread across multiple knowledge bases that were hard to find or remember where they were. And, employees also they felt more like they spent most of their time just trying to search for things and actually being able to focus on doing their job. And there's just, as we hired more people, especially globally, just that ability for people to collaborate cross-functionally and across different time zones was challenging for them, we found in the data. And just also the ability to be able to understand what is expected of me. And that's really sad. We wanted people to be able to understand the value that they're adding to the organization. So when we really look down to it, what we needed is we were spending so much time trying to respond to the basic needs of our employees that we weren't able to, our people team and our IT and our facilities and our finance and payroll teams were actually just spending so much time answering basic questions, and that our way of communicating with our employees was through email distribution groups. Which email distribution group as an employee do I remember? Who does payroll? Payroll at, or is it HR at? And it was just hard for them to be able to say, who do I go to with what question? And so we set out to how can we best address this? So we started to look at AI and technology, and MeeBot was a technology that we actually moved forward with as a way to be able to be with our employees at the moment that they needed those questions answered, especially within onboarding, and be able to tailor that answer for their location. That was the most important, because often when they would go to these websites, they often would have to search and took some time to search to find, for my location, what is the right answer to my question. And also being able to handle multiple languages, being able to ask in their native language their question and receive an answer in their native language. So MeeBot provided a way, as a cross-functional team. Also, this was then a tool that both IT, facilities, finance with payroll, and HR would now be able to collaborate together. That was another problem. There was no tool that we all together, owning that employee experience in a co-share, were able to meet the needs of the employee in one place. And so that also increased our ability to be able to co-share this experience together and be able to have data around, how are we addressing? So in the chatbot, not only were we able to provide answering those common questions, we were also able to, within their flow of work, within Teams, for us, it was Microsoft Teams, be able to tailor communications, push them out to the people that needed it. We're able to get rid of all the email distribution lists. We're able to get even away from email. And so as a result of putting this in place, our employees were able to get answers 24/7 to some of their basic questions. And they were able to realize that we're able to reduce by 75% the time that the HR team was spending answering these questions. And so 75% more time was freed up for us to focus on strategy. So we were able to actually also, we're in the IT team, we saved over 300 hours of IT human time because we automated this process. They were able to, once again, reduce the business as usual. So we were able to start to meet those strategic project timelines. We also found that in our onboarding surveys, we hypothesized that those answers to those questions, that we would increase our customer experience, our employee experience within our onboarding, at which it did. It increased their experience, and we were able to find that their onboarding, they felt more supported. They were more excited to be here. That we also drove within the engagement scores around, do you have access to the right tools and information to do your job? We saw an increase in those scores because they found that they were no longer having to log into all these different places to find knowledge bases. They go to one place with their question. It really became their virtual assistant, that they would be able to ask the question and then be pointed to the right place of where they needed to go, or it just automatically came to them within that channel, and they were able to provide feedback. So, Ismail,
yes, I mean, just maybe for you as well, just to take a breath quickly. It's very interesting because you said something very relevant. You can have a great manager, but still have a bad experience as an employee. And mainly because we underestimate how important the digital experience is for the employees. And this is why you spoke about the systems earlier. And we have to put in place, or to take in consideration, the relationship between the employee and the different system of the organization, the different software, and it could be non-tech systems. And what you said is in a highly growing company, the onboarding process was very basic. And in order to help the HR team answer the question from the employees, and as well in order to improve the experience of the employees, to help them get the answer they needed, you leverage AI and chatbot. And actually the chatbot that you used was MobiBot. Is it?
MobiBot, correct.
MobiBot. And it's very interesting because currently many HR leaders are thinking that they have to work really, let's say, deeply with the IT team. It's very complicated to get AI, to use AI. But with your feedback, we understand that leveraging SaaS, software as a service, you can already use AI, help you in your operation. And my question is the following, does this bot replace anybody within the team, or it allows you maybe to do something else within the HR department? So this is the question on my side. First question. And second question, who found the bot? Was it you, Mindy? Was it an initiative from HR? But how do you do this technology, let's say technology watch? This is the question that I have. And then after that, we can move ahead with the feeling of the presentation.
Perfect timing, Ismail. Thank you so much. Such thoughtful questions. So the first question, in regards, it augmented the team. It did not replace any team members. The HR team was very lean. They were overworked. I would say they were overburdened. The bot was able to actually help them enjoy their job again, because they weren't just answering the same questions every day, and they were actually able to support their employees and their managers and the departments they supported better because they were once again focused on actual initiatives that are actually driving change. They were able to get out from underneath. Many felt like they were drowning, that they couldn't keep up. They weren't able to be proactive. They felt very reactive. And so they actually, with MeBot, by able to, reduce those questions by 75%, they actually felt like they were able to then spend the time with leadership and show up in a strategic way to proactively come to leaders with data that was really driving greater impact in the organizations.
I think it's a great insight. And if I could just summarize in one sentence for HR leaders and data leaders who are on the call today, don't be scared to have a bot as a colleague, basically. Like, you manage to have a bot as a colleague who are doing not your job, but part of your job, and let you focus on something more impactful for you and for the organization. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
That allowed us to be more human, to actually, employees felt more cared for.
Yes, because there is very often the feeling that, you can't think that, as an employee, you will interact with a bot when you think about HR, but just to think that it's not, we are used as a customer when you have a problem in customer support to have the first interaction with a bot. Not maybe as an employee, but it should be the case because of the budget constraint, of productivity of HR, as well as efficiency, and do not be scared of having a bot as a colleague is one of the message.
Yes. Yeah. And also surprising, our employees want to see flexibility and to have choice. And we found the feedback that the bot provided them with the ability to be more flexible and to have more choice because they were able to inform themselves. They were able to make themselves more knowledgeable to then when they needed to speak with someone, they were able to ask a more, for they felt in their experience, a more knowledgeable question, that they were able to come with a clear ask, which they didn't have before. And so that was another great outcome. And now to your second question around, who made this choice? Here, it really was a co-shared choice. And yes, HR was a part of that decision-making process, but it was also very important because the digital workplace strategy was owned both by me as an HR leader as well as with our CIO, and making sure that within our digital footprint that we were adding in a technology that wasn't going to add to, but was going to augment what we had, that things would be able to connect together, really thinking about that endpoint management. And there are a lot of different bots out there. And I think why I spent so much time talking about making sure you have a plan is because now we're seeing, if we're using a workplace that has Notion, or if we have a ServiceNow, they all have their own bots. And so we also don't want to confuse our employees with so many different bots. And so how do we make sure when we understand the ecosystem that we really make sure our bot creates that kind of open door, that one place that employees can go to versus confusing them with another thing?
Great. Sorry, Mindy. No, sorry to rush you a little bit, but the time is flying.
It's going so fast. Well, the next slide is really...
Yes, next slide about technology. So just to go for the
just other options.
Speak about other options. We are going to speak as well about the CHRR role with AI, and then we can take the question.
Exactly. So this is just a list of other questions, right? Other options of chatbots that are out there. And Core AI is a great platform that actually allows you as an organization, if you have a unique tech stack, to build your own chatbot internally. And then just some other technology here that I feel is really leveraging AI to its fullest capacity and being able to really help work with you, augment your team to understand, what is this data telling us? How is it nudging us or our employees? How is it coaching our employees to make better decisions? So the challenges that we really see, and we've talked about this, so I won't belabor this any further, Ishmael, but we have a different workforce, a different way of working, and we need to support that new way of working with different systems and processes. And so, remote work has its own unique challenges. Our employees do feel disengaged. So how are we making sure that we are always, when we're continuously build a continuous improvement, how are we always working to become more connected, more engaged, more aligned, making sure that we are getting away from siloed decision making and that we do co-share those strategies amongst our executive team members, that we're always thinking about that capability change. How are we really thinking about the people, process, and systems, and making sure that we aren't adding more systems as the answer, but really thinking about from that digital holistic ecosystem perspective, so that we don't have so many that it becomes actually more confusing for employees. And the strategies that we've already talked about is really, once again, how do we make sure that everything ties back to a common business strategy, and how are we weaving our culture in through that? How are we thinking about that shared digital workplace plan, and that it ties back to the business strategy, making sure we have opportunities for flexibility and choice. And in doing that, we just connect employees back with the purpose of our organization. We create opportunities to be more transparent, to have more open conversations, allow the voice to speak in. And then most importantly, too, is how are we supporting these strategies with strong communication and training plans, so that our workforce is able to have that kind of digital reskilling and upskilling to continue to grow as our business digital strategy grows. And, AI kind of just all kind of comes together to help us do those, that's the strategy even. And it helps us be able to, but we need to make sure that we understand how AI is embedded in solutions. So when we have a Notion, like when we talk about Notion with its chatbot, or ServiceNow with its own chatbot, that we truly need to understand in order, so when we're making these purchase decisions, we as the purchasers, as the buyers, if we don't know about AI, we're not going to ask the right questions to truly understand how AI is trained and embedded in these systems, so that we can fully utilize them in our organizations. And so the other thing too is, how are we training our workforce to use the AI that we're implementing? And always an importance here is, how are we communicating this in our communication plans when we do launch our generative AI, that this is about augmentation and not replacement, to really reduce that fear of change.
Yes.
And did you have a question, Ishmael?
Yeah, maybe on generative, if you can maybe go back on the slide. For me, it's very important as well. AI role on generative AI. I think there are two dimensions. Maybe we are going to speak about it in the next slide, but I'm just introducing the question, is like how you as an HR leader, you use and you leverage generative AI in order to be more efficient, more productive, whatever. But as well, you will have, as an HR leader, many questions from the top management asking you what we do with that many amount of jobs in the company and how it will change it. So the whole point is, like, it's very important, I think, for HR leader to get ready to get to understand very well how generative AI can impact their own business in order to be able to help the other business lines. This is the point. I see with my client a lot of pressure put on HR with trainings, with culture transformation as well program. So I just wanted to have your view on that. And
yeah, and Ishmael, that is exactly what takes us to our next slide. That's such a thoughtful question, and so important, because I get that too. And this is where, when at the beginning of our conversation, I said it's so important, because you're right. People are asking for HR. This is our time to be able to really take the people plans from, often we're on that island, and we can't be on the island of HR. We need to be with our other executives to be able to not just be answering this from creating policies and governance but really like how are we able to be a part of that digital strategy? Because as we're building that roadmap, if we understand what the organization needs in 3 years and where we'll be in 3 years, we can actually start to think about our current workforce and how do we develop the right culture, the right mindset, the right skills, so that in 3 years, we are able to move them into different roles. Or maybe because we're so transparent, they'll actually decide, this isn't the job I enjoy anymore. This maybe isn't the best place for me. Maybe there is something different or a different place that I need to move to. So the employees are able to make those decisions themselves. But we've provided the opportunity because we are mindful and thoughtful to be able in 3 years to be able to evolve their jobs and their skill set to be ready at that 3-year mark of where we will be as an organization. And for us as HR leaders, if we're not already in AI and understanding what it is and the difference between the different types of AI, like conversational and generative, then we're already behind. Because this stuff is happening and it has been happening. AI isn't new, right, Ismail? And so as HR leaders, if we haven't yet taken an opportunity to dip our toes in, now's the time, right? Now's the time to go become informed so that we can start to change our own teams. So, because I often see at HR, if we can start with our own teams and we can start making sure that even in our own teams, there can often be silos. Often our recruiting team doesn't even know what the HR operations team is doing. So how can we start to build agility within our own people organization and our departments in order to make sure that we're transformed as an HR team to continuously improve, that we don't remain static and linear while everyone else has evolved beyond us to have a culture of continuous improvement? How can we lead the way as the HR organization and maybe even beta test some of these things? So we're upskilling our own people team around AI, technology, especially people analytics. And that then we're able to really co-own that conversation because we're knowledgeable. We're keeping up to speed on the technology trends. I often myself, you ask me, how do I keep up to date? I actually subscribe to many technology and AI newsletters and reading these and trying some of these things out and listening to webinars with CIOs and listening to how other industries are implementing these technology. Because it can be easy to go to where we're comfortable and to stay within kind of where we always have been. But now is a time that we need to step up and really start to transform in order to then become innovative.
Great.
And Ishmael, did you have another
No,
question?
no.
Okay. And really that's the conclusion, right? This is really a journey. Continuous improvement is a journey. It's not a goal. And it's about how do we create those milestones along that journey and celebrate those milestones and making sure that, we redefine how we view employee experience for that future of work and how are we continuously being able to innovate. But first, we got to start with transformation so that we can get to a place of innovation in order to be able to drive, once again, where we started, greater productivity. We can truly do more with less and still provide a human-centered workforce.
Thank you very much, Mindy. Just to recap, we spoke about employee experience and the opportunity, to redesign the employee journey in a way, to think about experience between employee and people, employee and systems as well, in order to improve the relationship between the employee and system. You introduced the concept of the chatbot, MobiBots, which help you to increase the customer satisfaction as well as improve the productivity of the HR department. And last but not least, we spoke about AI generative AI, and how HR should be at the edge in those aspects in order to be the ones who are going to help the company transform. And not only the HR department, but all the department of the company. I don't think we have questions at this stage, but I thank you for that. I thank you for your time. I thank everybody who were in the audience for the availability today. And if you have any further question, would like to have a one-to-one meeting with Mindy, for example, to challenge your strategy, do not hesitate. We are able to do that for you. We are going to set up this kind of meeting. If you want to go deeper within AI and HR, it's obviously the first webinar that we have on this topic. We will have a webinar in 2 weeks about generative AI, understand the concept and the offer. So you are more than welcome to attend. If you want to go deeper in this technology landscapes, please let us know, contact us, and obviously we have content for you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mindy, and looking forward to connect with you. Bye-bye. And thank you, Arnaud. Thank you, Arnaud, for the feedback. Much appreciated. Have a great day, Mindy. Bye-bye.
Thank you.